Have a good afternoon and welcome to Election Brief. We're live on DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 125, on all our social media platforms and around the world on myjoyonline.com. Election Headquarters is brought to you by Petrosol, the clean fuel in full quantity, and the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, together as the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants. And also by Chopbox Technologies, a convenience service, and Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging the gap for positive youth development. My name is Faustina Safo. Let's settle for details. For choosing us for your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Now, a political analyst at the Kumasi Technical University, Dr. Samuel Ifrie, believes that the New Patriotic Party's efforts to reconcile with aggrieved members could positively impact its chances in the December election, particularly in the Ashanti region. Now, he noted that the growing apathy within the party could be attributed to unresolved grievances among some supporters of the party. The NPP recently made strides in reconciling with mending relations with the former Deputy Roads Minister, Owusu Aduomi, who ran as an independent candidate in the Ejisu by-election. Dr. Ifrie suggests that the party should focus on reconciling with Alan Tremantin, who left the NPP to establish the Movement for Change, as this could further strengthen the party's position in the upcoming election. Nana Ojima has more in this report.
The Ejisu by-election was characterized by some acrimony between the NPP and the main opponent in the contest, Owusu Aduomi, who was once a party member. At one of the rallies of the New Patriotic Party, President Akufo-Addo threw some jabs at Owusu Aduomi.
So to cabinet minister, our MP.
You unseated a cabinet minister at Ejisu and found nothing wrong with that. But today, you are everywhere talking. This jab received a response from Mr. Aduomi in a media engagement at the final stage of campaigning for the Ejisu by-election.
I don't want to say anything bad against the president. He is the president of Ghana. I'm not a traitor. When I lost the primaries, did I go independent? I did not. I took it in faith. But when there is an issue that is contrary to the guidelines and regulations of the NPP party, and people raise concerns, if they are good leaders, they should have solved.
Though the NPP's Kwabena Boateng won the election with 27,782 votes against Mr. Aduomi's 21,534 votes, the party leadership was not impressed. NPP chairman Stephen Intim emphasized the need for reconciliation ahead of the general election.
Some of our members, represented by Owusu Aduomi, are splitting and leaving the camp. And personally, as chairman of the party, I'm not comfortable. We should be able to bring them all back to the fold.
4 months on, through the Ashanti Regional Council of Elders, Mr. Aduomi has reconciled with the NPP. Political analyst Dr. Samuel Ifrie believes the reconciliation may help restore the party's dominance in the Ejisu constituency.
That it will have more impact on the Ejisu constituency rather than the Ashanti region. The Ashanti region will be a sign that there's a reconciliation, so people should come on board. But the real impact will be felt on that is at Ejisu, where there will be no rivalry, there will be no acrimony.
Meanwhile, Dr. Ifrie believes the movement for change may have some influence in the Ashanti region. Hence, he calls for the NPP to target bringing back Alan Tremantin.
And I won't be surprised anyway if Alan himself will come back. Sometimes you might think it might be weird, but I think it's possible. In these elections and in politics, everything is possible. So when the reconciliation team work very hard, they can bring him back. Because in this world, when you get someone that you respect a lot, talk to you, appeal to you in one or the other, appeal to your conscience about certain decisions, really you will come back. And then, so there's a possibility, and the possibilities, anything can happen.
For Joy News, Nana Ojima, Kumasi.
Well, let's get more on this. Joining me now is political scientist Dr. Kwesi Amachibwateng. Thank you for your time here on Election Brief. Now, how significant do you believe the reconciliation efforts within the NPP, particularly in the Ashanti region, will be in swaying voters to support the NPP in the coming December elections?
Thanks for this opportunity. Let me say good afternoon to your viewers. Actually, politics essentially is about conflict and cooperation, conflict and consensus, conflict and accommodation. And interestingly, this didn't happen in the NPP some time back. But now, if what is happening is anything to go by, and at least you see that we have some cool heads in the party who realizes that, look, we can't just sit by and allow some of our members to break away. So now they need to, work out some sort of arrangement to bring about cooperation, to bring about accommodation is really going on. The Ejisu's case definitely, potentially, is going to bring some people who have been disaffected back, potentially. But then, a lot goes into that because, getting Mr. Aduomi is good, but when he left, obviously some people were also edged out of the party. Information that we have indicate that some of the party's leadership were displaced. And politics is about power, political power, and with political power too comes with it, certain benefits. So now, yes, they're going into some sort of accommodation to try to bring them back. But then, what about the other benefits that over the years they have missed? And are they going to simply listen to them and come back? One thing is that what is happening also is about the party's core members, the card-bearing members. The disaffection also affected other people in the area who are not necessarily card-bearing members, but who over the years have sympathized and voted in support of the party. And here, generally in the Ashanti region, there is this particular, a feeling, sentiment, a feeling of neglect, a feeling of the fact that they have been taken for granted. And people have come out openly and voiced this on various radio stations. I like to believe that the arrangements in place now trying to bring about cooperation is not roping in all these people. If indeed they want to bring everybody back and get, those who are not necessarily called members but have been voting in favor of the party, many of whom have come out because of stated reasons. You have the market women, their own case. You have issues of, people desiring to get places in police, immigration, and having come to understand that they need to make payments. At the same time, you have some party people benefiting. So the party generally has a lot of work to do in the region. They might benefit from what is happening in Ejisu, but the issue as to whether it's going to be holistic to bring everybody back, to me, is another thing.
Well, some political watchers have attributed what they describe as growing apathy in the NPP to unresolved grievances among supporters. Do you share this view? If yes, how can the party effectively address this to reinvigorate its base?
The party unnecessarily step on too many toes. And then you saw some, power driving through the party to get particular individuals to hold various offices. It started long ago, started with the ousting of Mr. Kobne Japan, and who currently gracefully has come back. And then there were other people viewed as supporters of President Kufuor who were also affected, who are in the party. So that is one aspect of what, bring about the disaffection, the apathy that has been, spoken of. Then there's this other segment of the whole issue having to do with the lack of infrastructure in Ashanti region. People complain about the bad nature of the roads. Now the party is actually has responded significantly, and in many parts of the region, you see work going on actively. But then one thing is that enough? Is it? I mean, has this not been occasioned by the approaching elections? You know, like political scientists say that politicians are always afraid of the next election. So is this, or are these going to be enough to let people, easily accept the party as they used to be? Because there is a segment believing that, look, they are only interested in our votes, and that is why they are doing what they are doing. And it's a frantic effort to get our votes back, and that they are not really concerned with us. So to me, the party has a lot to do. The party has a lot to do. What has the party got to do, to address some of these things? It's a major challenge. It's a major challenge. I really can't come out with any specific, suggestion as to what specifically the party should do.
Okay, considering Alan Tremonting's departure from the NPP to form the Movement for Change, how crucial do you think it is for the NPP to reconcile with him before the elections, and what challenges might this pose?
If the party could really get Alan to say that he's no longer going solo, it would be a huge, boost, of the party's fortunes in the region. Alan, if you like, symbolized, President Kufuor's presence in the party. And in spite of what happened to Alan, President Kufuor has, gracefully, cooperated with the party, attended almost all their programs. Yet, I mean, Dr. Bawumia is the running mate. I mean, is the flag bearer. So what sort of, conciliation are they going to go into? And they know how everything came about, to the point that, they were ready to, use violence. So it was a plot which was hashed and executed, and now they have what they have. What exactly is going to bring Alan back? So that exactly is the main challenge there. I don't know. Dr. Bawumia is the flag bearer, and that is it. And you realize that, this is not the first time that Alan spoke of this issue, concerning his supporters. Many of his supporters were sidebarred. All the time that Ronaldo has been in office, many of his supporters were sidebarred. They were not given appointments. They were simply not, easily even accommodated in the party, until eventually, even when Alan was the trade minister, many of his supporters were sidebarred. And eventually, when this thing occurred, to me, it was something like the icing on the cake. So Alan's case, to me, is a big issue.
How do you assess the long-term effects of internal splits like that with Alan Tremonting on the stability and future of prospects of political parties in Ghana?
They need to deepen the internal democratic principles in their party and allow the party's constitution to guide all their activities. This personalization of politics and, people trying to impose themselves, ironically using the party and the nation's resources, is something that they will want to, acknowledge and handle. The basic thing is, the party to be ready to, stay with their constitution and use it. If the constitution has any issue that doesn't enable the party to, behave the way they want, then they should simply amend it. But as much as possible, constitutionalism should prevail in the party, all the parties in Ghana. To the extent that they stay with their own constitution, they can get everybody to remain on board even when they lose elections.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Martin Boateng, for your time here on Election Brief. Let's do some other stories now. Breaking the duopoly. That's the anthem of smaller political parties. Ghana heads to the polls in 4 months. The question, however, remains, how ready are the smaller parties to indeed break the duopoly? And what steps are being taken to convince you and I, the voters, to give them our vote? Today, we begin a series to engage these political parties and to understand their policies and assess their feasibility ahead of the December polls. Now, we start with the Movement for Change, led by the former Trades Minister, Alan Tremantin. He has promised to abolish the Council of State, work with just 40 ministers, establish a bank that supports market women, among others. What else is in his manifesto? Well, thankfully, I have the Director of Communication for Alan's team, Courage Nobi, joining us here in the studio on Election Week. Thank you, Courage, for your time. First of all, how is the campaign going, and where is your flag bearer touring as we speak?
Thank you very much, Steve, for having me, and it's always a pleasure to be back to your studios. The campaign has been going very well. Just last 2 weeks, he was in the Bono region where he had his market tour, and again, overwhelming response from the people. They know that so long as they are traders, he's the one they can trust. He's the one who understands their circumstances, and he can put in place the policy environment that will allow their enterprises to thrive. Because what Alan is promising is an enterprise economy where you get financing, cheap financing, to expand your business. To amplify what he's been doing, we have the Muntie Alan Show, which is coming very soon. In fact, tonight, there will be a broadcast of one on all his social media platforms where he goes into details. Today, he'll be speaking about the youth policies. What does Alan want to do for young people? So I encourage all my fellow young people to stay tuned. Join Alan Tremantin on all social media platforms to get to know about what he has for you as young people.
Let's get into your manifesto and some of the promises Alan Tremantin has made so far. First, he said he would establish a bank to help traders.
Yes.
How does he plan to finance this apart from his links as the former Trades Minister?
Awesome. You know, having been Trade Minister 2 times, he understands their issues, like I said, and so he realizes that the biggest challenge to traders in this country is financing. Now, the current rate, which is above 30%, average profit margin is about 20%. So if I'm borrowing at 30%, it means that my profit cannot even finance the loan, let alone sustain the business. So if you have a dedicated bank, like we had with agriculture, Agri Development Bank, that was lending at single-digit rate, and that developed agriculture. So if you want trade to boom, if you want Tabosokan, Kokompe, Makola, and the likes to boom, we need to have a dedicated bank that caters to their needs. Again, regular commercial bank requires certain collaterals. Does the average trader have those? No. But a dedicated bank will understand the peculiar needs of these traders and then fashion out financial packages that would be able to tailor to them. What the government will do will be to give the seed money for that. And once it begins going and trade begins to boom, they can pay back, and then you have a revolving fund that is able to cater to traders.
Where would the seed money be coming from?
From the government, of course. I mean, one of the biggest things that the government has is it has access to some amount of resources. The important thing is how do you put that amount to use so that it becomes productive and then brings productive returns to the economy. So if government decides that, okay, let me put 20 billion cedis into this fund, when he puts it there, with the kind of strategy we have in place, particularly that connects to agriculture, because you should be able to get the raw materials, you should be able to connect that to industry, which is also part of the plan, so that traders can buy both raw materials and finished goods to trade with. Then that 20 billion, in a matter of 2-3 years, can give you about 100 billion. Yes, so that's how he intends to finance it. So it's about the policy environment and the commitment of the government to see this through. We've done it before, and we can do it again.
Already, government is borrowing a lot to finance quite a number of their projects. And then the concern now is that what specific sector would you then be getting the seed money from?
Okay, thank you. I think Alan has made it very clear that going forward, infrastructure development will not be government financed. Because it's easy to go for $600 million loan that you're building an interchange. What happens is that you have to finance that loan. The interest rate is usually very high. But if you package the project that, okay, Accra-Kumasi Highway, we want to dualize it, package it, and prepare a feasible plan for recouping of investment. In private investors and private sectors, what has the money, will come in, build the road, put tolls on the road, and recoup the money in 10, 15, 20 years. And that's what happens in Malaysia, it's what happens in the US, what happens in the UK, and the likes. What that will do will be to lessen the burden of debt on the government. So the government then, who will be sharing profits with a private individual who has built the road and is towing it, will now begin to put its part of the revenue in targeted policies in agriculture, targeted policies in social services like education, targeted areas like health, and the like. So that is just one aspect of it. But concerning natural resources, Alan is saying that it does not make sense today in 2024 that we give contract to a company, mines gold, and exports it. We give contract to a company.
So he's going to invest in industrialization. But then the question now is, you also pledged to reduce taxes.
Yes.
You say you want to give us a low-income tax regime.
Yes.
How then do you plan to finance some of these projects?
Absolutely. If you see the GTP, the Great Transformational Plan, everything is linked. So connecting it to natural resources. Within the first 2 years of Alan's administration, you will stop Galamsey. We'll put a stop to it.
How?
It's simple. Have a dedicated arm of the army that focuses on that. Our forest reserves are being depleted. There is a law that does not allow that. Implement it. Just enforce the law. LI 2462, which was passed in 2022, which allows mining in such forest reserves and river bodies, will be revoked by Alan, as well as the EI 144 that allows de-reservation of our forest. When you do that, Alan is saying that he will review all existing contracts with our mining companies and outlaw or pass law that requires them to add value to 60% of whatever natural resource they mine before export.
How would that even deal with illegal mining in the first place?
What that is going to do, it means that you are going to have heavy revenue from the mining companies, because value addition is what brings government money. So
that will stop illegal mining?
No, stopping illegal mining is a matter of law and it's a matter of commitment. It's a matter of dedication.
The government is not dedicated enough?
No, not at all. Nothing shows that the government was committed to. In fact, what the government has done is to rather pass law to almost legitimize an illegitimate practice. Up until 2022, we did not have any law that allowed mining in forest reserves and close water bodies. The LI 2462, which was passed by the government in 2022, actually allows the president in writing to allow mining in forest reserves. That is clearly not commitment to dealing with the problem. Alan says, I'll deal with it. Now, in dealing with it, you cannot dispossess the young people of this country from participating in economic activity. So he says, okay, let's have a business model that allows the young people work as cooperatives under strict regulations. Get them, the cooperatives, registered as business entities so that they can be properly regulated under law. And then have them have legal concessions out of forest reserves, out of water bodies, and have them participate in the mining industry legally, so that people will not just get up and be digging in their farms and the likes. And what that will do will be impacting other sectors of the economy. For example, in 2021, our cocoa production output was in excess of 1 million tons. In 2022, it came down to a little over 600,000 tons. In 2023, we came down to just about half, about 500,000 tons. And 2024, we are projected to do even less. Part of that is the impact of Galamsey, where people are selling their cocoa farms, and meanwhile, the third highest earner of foreign exchange for Ghana was cocoa. So if you do not have the leadership that has the credibility to deal with the problems head on and to design policy that makes other sectors thrive, this is some of the results that you'll be having, such that produce buying company, the workers have not been paid for over a year. And in all of these too, Ghanaians must remember that you cannot trust either of the NPP or the NDC to do right by the citizens of this country, to do right in natural resource management, to do right in creating the enabling environment for enterprise to thrive. Because we've seen it before. We've seen President Mahama, he couldn't do it. Galamsey started in 2013, he couldn't stop it. President Akufo-Addo and NPP came, they've not been able to stop it. And across all of them, corruption, nepotism, and all the areas that we see in government. So if we want to have different outcomes as a people, we must vote differently. And the choice is one, Alan John Kojo Tramati, because he has a demonstrated track record of credibility in public service.
How then do you convince the voter that you're credible enough, knowing fully well that your flag bearer was a member of the NPP for a long time. He was also the trades minister.
It's a very simple thing. I was a member of the NPP as well, part of its national communication team, just like Alan. What Alan has done is to give accountability of his stewardship, whether under President Kufuor or under President Kufuor-Addo, as a minister. In all that, there's one thin thread between, across the years. He's never been corrupt. He's proven to be a man of vision. He's proven to be a man of action. And he's proven to be a very effective implementer of public policy. As a result of which, even under President Kufuor, 160,000 jobs were created in just one district, one factory. Automobile development, we have, out of the 6 global brands, 5 of them assembling cars right here in Ghana. Put that aside. He's been able to build about 67 business resource centers across the country that are supporting young enterprises for them to thrive. So, yes, there is collective responsibility, but that does not excuse in any way individual accountability. If any of the ministers who serve in this government can account for their stewardship as individuals, I think we should be able to pay attention to them. And for someone who has been in the forefront of Ghanaian politics well over 40 years, who has not been corrupt, has never been known to be corrupt, and can tell you that I have not been, I am not, and I will never be, I think he deserves the trust of the people. Now, if he believed in the...
Before we go into that, how can you then prove to us that you are not corrupt?
The only way to prove that is your past actions. Yes, it's your past actions.
How do you plan to fight corruption in your government? Because that's been a concern of different political parties. There is concerns about the corruption in different governments, ranging from the NDC to the NPP. Should Ghanaians give you the nod? How do you plan to fight corruption? Okay. In the Great Transformational Plan, Alan Kyerematen says one thing, that we have so many different legislations spread out. Now, you don't even know who has the responsibility to fight corruption. Is it a CID unit of the Ghana Police? Is it Yoko? Is it Special Prosecutor? Or who? And mostly what you have is that you find them playing chaskele with the case. This one passes it on to this, Yoko passes it on to Special Prosecutor. He says, no. Why don't we consolidate all these provisions on fighting corruption and have one specific individual boasted with a legislation that gives him the power to prosecute, the power to investigate and prosecute, which we call like an omnibus czar of fighting corruption. Different from the Office of the Special Prosecutor?
Different from that one because...
collapse that office?
Because the Office of the Special Prosecutor takes its authority from the Attorney General Minister for Justice. That doesn't work. So consolidate all of that and have one unit, one office with a specific mandate.
So you erase the Office of the OSP?
Well, obviously, a number of them will have to go if you are consolidating to have one. A number of them will have to go. And then you have clarity on who is fighting corruption. So that is one. The biggest way to fight corruption again is by example. If the leader is not corrupt, and the leader's family members are not participating in corruption, his friends are not participating, appointees in his government are not participating, then you can fight it. The reason why presently we fail to fight it is because at all these levels, there's corruption happening. So Alan Kyerematen is saying that I have not been corrupt, I am not corrupt, I will never be corrupt. So because I am not corrupt, I will not allow any family member or any appointee or any friend of mine to engage in corruption. And yet I will set up this institution that has the power and the mandate to fight corruption heads on. I think that is enough commitment, and it gives a very clear direction as to what Alan wants to do as far as corruption is concerned.
Thank you so much, Courage, for joining us
Thank you
here
for having
on
me.
Election Brief. Well, that's it for Election Brief. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Faustina Savo. Have a pleasant day as you enjoy the rest of our programs.